been retrograde free since January 18th. We've been full steam ahead, and I know that for so many of us, it feels like time has sped up. We have had so many shifts and newness and changes in our life since January, and it feels like we can never catch up. The days are flying by. But that's about to slowly start changing, because now with Mercury kicking off his retrograde in the zodiac energy of Taurus on April 21st, we are officially going into retrograde season. So that means for the rest of 2023, we will be in at least one active retrogrades at all times. And by the time we get to the month of September, we will have 8 active retrograde energies at once. So don't worry if you are feeling overwhelmed, if you feel like time will not slow down. It will, especially by the time we get to the end of the summer. Welcome back, my Astro fam. It's me, Mandy Rose, your relational astrologer. And today we are kicking off retrograde season, talking all about Mercury's retrograde. So a lot to cover in this video. We will break it down. I will give you the dates that you're going to need to pay attention to as Mercury transits through the zodiac energy of Taurus. We're going to break down what Taurus energy is and how life coach Mercury is going to be teaching us a lesson during this time frame. And like I always do at the end of retrograde videos, I will of course give you do's and don'ts so you know how to navigate this retrograde energy. So, fun fact about Mercury's retrogrades during 2023 is that they're all happening in Earth signs. That means in Taurus, Virgo, and Capricorn. He's actually doing 2 retrogrades in the zodiac energy of Capricorn. We started out 2023 with a Mercury retrograde in Capricorn, and in December, he's going to pick up where he left off in Capricorn at the exact same degree point, where he will then retrograde back into the energy of Sagittarius. So that makes 2023 what we call an Earth year, with Mercury retrograding in all the Earth signs. This is a very exciting energy because last year, Mercury retrograded in the air signs. So last year was an air year. We were thinking, we were speaking, we were having conversations, we were doing research, we were trying to figure out with our mind what our next chapter of life needs to look like. And we did that through socializing, learning, connecting, and communicating. But now this year, as an Earth year, with Mercury retrograding in all the Earth signs, we are putting in the work. We are doing the things that we need to do in our physical, tangible reality to make changes that we can see in our life right in front of us. So this is a super exciting energy, but it requires retrograding. Retrogrades give us an opportunity to course correct, to slow down, to go back over something. Retrogrades deal with all the words that start with reanalyze, reassess, re-edit, reorganize, redo something in our life. And although it can be uncomfortable because we don't want to circle back, we want to make something happen and keep moving forward, it also allows us to make sure that we're always on track with the things that we truly desire. So the example I always give is, imagine if you play golf and you're really good at hitting the golf ball very, very far. Now, if you are accurate and you are on par and you know exactly how to hit that golf ball, it's going to go really far in the direction that you want. But if you hit that golf ball in the wrong direction, it's going to go flying way off of left field or right field into the bushes. And that's not what we want to happen in our life. So Mercury retrogrades allow us to make sure before we hit the ball, before we make a decision, before we move forward in our life, we are still on track. Now, before we dive into all the details that you need to know, if you have your 2023 Astrology Retrograde Journal, make sure you grab it for this video. You can go ahead and fill in more details. This journal is something that I created 3 years ago. This is the 3rd edition, and it was specifically created with retrogrades in mind, because retrogrades are huge lesson learning periods, and most of us don't know how to navigate them. So in this journal, every single planet's retrograde is in here. I teach you not only who that planet is as a life coach to us, but also the energy or the lens at which they're taking when they're in the specific zodiac sign that they will retrograde through. I give you journal prompts, I give you do's and don'ts, I tell you what you can expect, I give you ways and things that you can do that are in perfect alignment with the energies, and overall, it's going to help you make sense of the energetic chaos. So for this specific Mercury retrograde, you're going to open up to page 32 and 33. All the retrogrades are a 2-page spread because there's so much information to cover during retrogrades. If you do not have a copy of the Astrology Retrograde Journal, you can find it in the link in my bio in the description box below. I currently have them on sale because we are going into retrograde season, so you're definitely going to want to use this as a tool to navigate the rest of the year. Now, we have to understand Mercury as a life coach because every planet is going to go retrograde, but each of these planets act like a life coach to us, and retrogrades are important seasons to teach us lessons, to help us review something. So to understand the lesson of Mercury, we have to understand who Mercury is in general to us as a life coach. Now, Mercury rules communication. He rules messages. He rules the mind, speaking, learning, educating, conversing with other people, and overall understanding what we are doing. So as a life coach, he's going to help you with your mental clarity and your conversational ability. So when he is retrograde, we are typically redoing something regarding information, regarding something that we have already learned, something we've already communicated, something we've already discussed, something we've already maybe put into place. Mercury also rules contracts, negotiations, right? Those are things that require communication. He also rules technology. So this could be your phone, computers, printers. It could be things like social media, your website, different platforms. Mercury, because he is the messenger, and in order for us to communicate messages, sometimes we have to go somewhere to do so. So he rules short-term transportation. That's bikes, cars, buses, planes, trains, things like that. So these are all the areas of life that Mercury rules over. And during his retrograde, we're usually having to circle back or encounter some sort of hiccup in these areas of life to again get us back on track. And so this is why Mercury's retrograde usually gets a bad rap. You know, in pop culture, people are like, oh, Mercury retrograde, here to ruin my life. Mercury retrogrades are not that detrimental. They're very short blips of time in respect to other planets. So for instance, Mercury's retrograde is only 3 weeks long. It's a very short amount of time. But other planets like Saturn is a 5-month-long retrograde. So we can get through a Mercury retrograde. In addition to that, Mercury's retrogrades, because it deals with things in our life that we need to do on a regular basis, like purchasing new things, signing contracts, making decisions, having conversations. It can be uncomfortable to put those things on pause, but remember, it's only 3 weeks. So there is nothing that can't wait the energy of 3 weeks and instead go inward and go back over the things that you've already done in these areas of life. So that's kind of the general overview of a Mercury retrograde and what we're supposed to be learning or growing through during every single one of his Mercury retrogrades. Now, to take it one level deeper, we have to understand the energy of Taurus, because Taurus is the energy that Mercury is going to be retrograding through during this particular retrograde. So, what is the energy of Taurus? What kind of influence or vibe does Mercury take on when he's in the energy of Taurus? Now, Taurus is the bull. And of course, it's an earth energy because like I said before, Mercury is going to retrograde through all the earth energies. And Taurus as an earth energy is what we call fixed. It is stable, it is stubborn, and it is hard to change. So when Mercury comes into the energy of Taurus, how we're going to change things is not going to be easy. They're pretty fixated on the way that it's been. So if there's a conversation that you've had, it might be hard to circle back. It might be hard to change someone's mind or to change their opinions. If there's a contract or a negotiation that you signed, it might be challenging to try to renegotiate those things. So a Mercury retrograde in Taurus can be a little challenging because to course correct and to redo or to reanalyze, it's going to take a little bit more effort to unfixate that energy. Now, Taurus rules over the monetary system. It is the bull. So it rules over financials, it rules over our assets, our investments, our resources. It rules over the things in our life that we value. Because the planet that rules Taurus is Venus. And Venus just wants to bring beauty and pleasure and harmony into our life. And so Taurus is going to be the things that we find beautiful, the things that we find valuable in our life. So Mercury, as he retrogrades in Taurus, our mind, our communication, what we're speaking about, what we're having to relearn or re-understand or go over in our life is going to have to deal with these Taurus areas. Our money, our assets, our resources, our investments, our contracts, our negotiations, and the things that we value. That could be relationships, that could be our material possessions, that could be our belief systems. What do you value in your life? Because Mercury is going to have to go back over that mentally. You're going to have to question, do I still enjoy that? Do I still value that? Was that investment a smart idea? Do I need to course correct? Is my budget still in alignment with what I value? See how this all kind of ties together. So this is going to be a very interesting energy for us to navigate. Now, don't forget, we have been retrograde free since January 18th, and Mercury's retrograde in 2023 is kicking off the retrograde season. So he's going first. This is the opening chapter. This is the first course correct that we have to make before all the other planets follow suit in 2023 with their retrograde. So that leads me into now talking about the specifics of this Mercury retrograde happening in 2023. Now, his official retrograde is going to begin on April 21st. So if you are catching this video before April 21st, this is your friendly reminder to make sure that anything that you need to get done in 2023 that you do not want to have to go back over, you need to get it done immediately. Now, preferably before April 7th, where Mercury goes into his pre-shadow energy. So if you're catching it before then, ideally, make that purchase, sign that contract, have that conversation, book those travel plans, do all those Mercury things. But don't be surprised if you do those activities after April 7th. You're going to have to go back over them. And if you make any major purchases, sign any contracts, or have difficult, challenging conversations, or you're trying to learn or find out something after the retrograde begins, do not be surprised if it is challenging or difficult to find out new information. It just won't be the energetic season for that. So let's talk about some specific dates and what is Mercury going through during his transit in the zodiac energy of Taurus in 2023. So let's go ahead and pull up the chart. Now we are going to start out with April 6th. On April 6th, we have the full moon in Libra, and that's really where Mercury's story begins. On that date, he enters into what we call his pre-shadow phase. He is at 5 degrees of Taurus, and he is going to move from April 6th until his retrograde begins on April 21st, from 5 degrees of Taurus to 15 degrees of Taurus. So you're going to want to go ahead and look in your birth chart and see if you have any planets between 5 degrees and 15 degrees of Taurus. That means Mercury's retrograde is going to impact you the most. Now, another fun fact about these degree points of 5 to 15 degrees of Taurus, this is the exact same area of the sky, literally the exact same area of the sky that Jupiter is going to retrograde later in the year in September. That is very rare. It is very rare to have two planets in the same exact year retrograde over the exact same degree points. So that is going to signify that we are first going to start out with Mercury, our mind, redoing this area of our life by gathering more information, by re-understanding something, renegotiating, redoing something that Jupiter is later going to cross over and bring us blessing, abundance, expansion, and growth and understanding around. So this is going to be something that will be repeated as we move throughout the year. And again, Mercury is the opening planet of retrograde season of 2023. So a lot of significance here. And again, if this is impacting your birth chart, this is going to be something you're going to want to understand. We can always dive into that in a one-on-one reading. So we start out on April 6th, full moon in Libra. I have a whole separate video on that. Go catch that, breaking down the energy that we're going to be experiencing on that day. Now, Mercury is going to move into pre-shadow. What is pre-shadow? It means that this is his first pass through this area of the sky. This means that any conversation in our life, any purchase we have to make, any negotiation or contract we sign, anything that deals with Mercury that we do, maybe something we have to circle back around during the retrograde. So just pay attention. You want to make sure that if you're signing contracts, you're reading the fine print. If you're dealing with your money, remember, Taurus is the bull. It deals with your finances, your assets, your resources, your investments. You want to be very careful. You want to read the fine print because you may have to circle back around and learn the hard way because retrogrades are lesson learning periods. So don't be hasty, don't rush, really double check things using your mind and your mental clarity because that goes away during Mercury's retrograde, right? Also pay attention to conversations you're having. You may think that you and that person are on the same exact page, you have the conversation, but later down the road during his retrograde, you may have to circle back around and realize that maybe you weren't on the same page. Also, if you are looking for travel plans, you may want to book them before Mercury goes retrograde. Do not book travel plans during Mercury's retrograde because, again, we are supposed to be going inward, pausing and slowing down, not rushing ahead in life. Also, on that day, we can see from the chart that Mercury is going to be in a conjunction with the North Node, who is currently in Taurus. This North Node means the eclipses have been occurring in the energy of Taurus all of last year, and it is not quite done yet. So what does that mean? Mercury is the mind, it's the communication, it's the message, it's the decisions, it's our socialization. And the North Node is the future, it's the destiny, it's the next chapter. So at the beginning of this pre-shadow on April 6th, around the full moon in Libra, you may be receiving some information that's in alignment with your destiny. You may be having a conversation that helps you move forward. You might be making a decision that is going to push you in the next chapter of your life. So be very careful on this day. There are definitely some fated and destined things, conversations and communication going on, or information you may be receiving that is going to be helpful to the next chapter of your life. Now, in the time frame between Mercury entering pre-shadow at 5 degrees of Taurus and his beginning of his retrograde on the 21st at 15 degrees of Taurus, we have a bunch of astro energy going on in that time frame. There is a bunch of shifts and chaos and changes. So there will be a lot happening between April 6th and April 21st. What are those things? Well, on April 11th, we have two major astro weather events. That is Venus moving into the energy of Gemini and the Sun and Jupiter coming conjunct in the sky. That is a very lucky day. That's a very prosperous day. That's a very blessed day. It's happening in the energy of Aries. So this is about deciding on your wants and your needs and your desires. This is about moving forward bravely, fearlessly in the pursuit of your dreams. So this will be an interesting energy to pay attention to. And then the day before Mercury goes retrograde, we have an eclipse. A new moon solar eclipse in the zodiac energy of Aries. That is the second new moon in Aries. So what does that mean? That means on the day that Mercury goes retrograde on the 21st, it is in the peak of the eclipse season. It is volatile, it is sudden. There are shifts and changes and fated, destined events being eclipsed in and eclipsed out of our life. There is going to be a lot of movement and chaos in the sky. And then Mercury is going to go retrograde on the 21st. So we are going to have to go back over something. Now I'm going to pull up the chart here for the 21st. We can see that the sun and the moon are very close in the sky. But more importantly than that, remember at the beginning of Mercury's pre-shadow, he was in touch with the North Node of Destiny, opening fated destined conversations, information, communication. But on the day he actually goes retrograde, he's almost conjunct with Uranus. Now Uranus will be at 17 degrees and Mercury will be at 15 degrees. So they're very close in the sky. They don't actually touch, but very, very close. And remember, Mercury is sudden, jolting change. It is unexpected information. It is very shocking. And so Mercury is our mind. Again, we're trying to make a decision. This volatile eclipse season happened. Something new came into our life, this unexpected thing, right? In alignment with our destiny. I want this. Aries, this is my needs, my wants, my desires. I'm in the astrological new year. I want to go for this thing. And now, all of a sudden, we think we're going to make a decision. Be very careful around this time, the 20th and the 21st. You might be ready to make that decision. You might be ready to sign the contract. You might be ready to jump into the next chapter of your life, but Uranus is going to be like, wait a second, you didn't have this piece of information. This sudden thing's going to come up. Oh, this shock. Oh my God, this conversation. Like there is going to be something that is going to stop you in your tracks from making the decision that you are about ready to make. Because on that date where Mercury moves closer to Uranus, Uranus is like, ha, here's a shock, here's a sudden unexpected thing, you didn't understand, you didn't know this, haha, here it is. Now Mercury's going to start retrograding, being like, shit, now that I have this information, I gotta go back. I gotta redo, right? Retrograde, reanalyze, relook at that contract, rehab that conversation because of this sudden, jolting, unexpected information. So it's going to be a whoa, I guess I really do have to go back over. Now, also we can see on the 21st, not only is Uranus over here, as Mercury moves closer, he's like, ha, here's your info. Who's on the other side of Mercury? The moon. And what does the moon do? Highlights things, triggers things, right? It rules our emotions, our response, our mood, our temperament. So Mercury, before he retrogrades, is smashed into the mood, the emotions of the moon, and the shocking, unexpected surprises of Uranus, the liberator. And now Mercury is our mind. We thought we were gonna make this decision. We thought this was like already set and done. We did the research, we had the conversations, we're ready to sign on the dotted line, move forward in our life. And now our emotions are so jolted by the moon and Uranus's unexpected information. And we're gonna have to go back over. We're gonna have to get back to the drawing board. So don't be surprised if this happens in your life. Again, as a relational astrologer, I'm just helping you have better relationships with yourself. Don't beat yourself up. Don't be frustrated. It's just a season. It's just a time frame. So you're gonna go back over. This could very much be related to financials because remember, it's happening in Taurus. What we value, what we find beautiful, our money, our assets, our resources, Mother Nature, agriculture, food, water, all those things that are super important. So this is happening globally and collectively, but it is going to impact all of us on a personal level. So we can really see the energy of markets being volatile, destabilized, lots of shifts. Just navigate and flow through it. Now Mercury is going to be retrograde all the way until May, on May 14th. That means his retrograde happens through the second eclipse on May 5th. So he's going to be retrograding. We're going to have another eclipse, more new information, more sudden changes, more ecliptic things in and out of our life. And then we get to May 14th, where he ends up all the way back at the beginning at 5 degrees of Taurus, the exact place in the sky that he was on April 6th on the full moon in Libra. And so that is coming back to the beginning. That is coming back to any conversation that you had from that point to May 15th. So that is going back to any conversation, communication, information that you learned or discovered since April 6th. And then we course correct, and then we shift, and then we change. Now the halfway point of Mercury's retrograde, it starts on April 21st, and it ends on May 14th. The halfway point in the middle is May 1st. And the halfway point of every Mercury retrograde is what we call the Mercury cazimi. It's where Mercury backs up into the sun. And because the sun shines a spotlight upon, it highlights things, it allows us to see clearly where it would typically be dark outside. This is usually when we get the aha moment. So we have Mercury almost running into Uranus, sudden, shocking, unexpected news, information we didn't realize, our emotions get triggered, the moon's involved, and then we back up and we try to figure out what other information we need, what other conversation. It's like, okay, let me go back to the drawing board. And then on May 1st, as he runs into the sun, it's like, oh, okay, I see the solution. I see, because he is cazimi to the sun. And then from May 1st to the 14th, as he finishes out his retrograde, we get to work and we do the things we need to do to gather the information. And now we're back to the beginning on May 14th. And when we get back to the beginning on May 14th, Jupiter leaves Aries and enters into Taurus. This is important because remember, Jupiter is going to retrograde in the exact same part of Taurus that Mercury just retrograde. And he enters into the Taurus party the day after Mercury ends his retrograde in Taurus. So that is an energy that we are going to feel moving into Taurus. More money, more hope, more faith, more optimism, right? Jupiter expands, he brings blessings, he brings opportunity, he brings growth. Jupiter is going to be in Taurus for an entire year from May 2023 until May 2024. But first Mercury had to go through and our mind had to get right. We had to reevaluate. What do we value? What are our budgets? What's our financial situation? What do we want to invest our resources and assets and energy and time and love into to make this area of life more beautiful? It's ruled by Venus. So when the retrograde is over, Jupiter jumps in and goes, all right, now I'm here. Now I'm going to help you expand, grow, prosper, and have more faith, hope, and optimism in this area of life for the next year. So from May 14th until the end of May, Mercury will be finishing his journey through Taurus. That's our chance to implement all the newness that we learned during his retrograde. So it's going to be a season. It is going to be energetically a little chaotic with Uranus and the North Node involved, with it being during eclipse season, with all the other planets up to all sorts of different things in the sky. We are going to have to answer a lot to Pluto during this energy because Pluto is now in Aquarius. Taurus is here, Aquarius is here. So Pluto's going to be having a conversation with Mercury, having a conversation with Jupiter. And what does Pluto want? Pluto wants transformation. He is the god of the underworld. He's going to dredge out the secrets. He's going to dredge the skeletons out of the closet. He's going to help you find all that information that was in the swamp, and now it's brought to the light. So you can transform and make mental Mercury decisions, have conversations with people based on the truth, no longer on the secrets, and things are going to be revealed and more clear so you can transform them and move forward. So that is a whole nother element to explain during this season. I know that was a lot of information, but I hope it helps you make more sense of this chaos. I hope it soothes you and helps you navigate this transit easier. And so I'm gonna leave you with some do's and don'ts so you can keep these in mind as we move through this Mercury retrograde in Taurus. So we'll start out with the do's, and I mentioned a couple of these earlier, but let's go back over them. The first thing I would do is back up all your technology. Be very, very cautious because Uranus is involved. Uranus is the planet of electricity, of sudden jolting change. He deals with our nervous system. So you're just gonna wanna make sure that anything that uses electricity or technology is going to be backed up, going to be safe, going to be stored. Now, Uranus in Taurus also rules Mother Nature and natural disasters. So make sure you have the resources and the technology that you need and that you have them available and backed up, because any of these natural disasters could occur during this time. So be very careful with your technology. The second thing I would do during this Mercury retrograde, and definitely in preparation of this Mercury retrograde, is to get on top of your budget. Be very, very careful. We already know the markets are volatile. They're going to increase in volatility as we move through eclipse season, as we get into all of this energy in Taurus, as Jupiter in the sky goes combust. I've talked about that in the full moon in Libra video and in the April astrology overview video, so you can go check out that video after this one. And you'll see the timestamp where I specifically talk about Jupiter in the month of April, so that brings a lot of volatility to the market. So you're just going to want to analyze your budget, pay attention to your resources and your assets, and prepare for Mercury's retrograde. The last thing I would do for this Mercury retrograde, because it is in the energy of Taurus, which rules our material possessions, is I would spend some time really going through everything that you own and assessing if you truly value it. Because remembering Jupiter is going to show up here in this area of your life, and he's going to bring in new blessings, new opportunities, new growth here. And sometimes you can't have new if you have a whole bunch of old. So look at everything in your life. Do that Marie Kondo method where you hold it in your hand and you say, do I still value this? Do I still want to invest in this? Do I still want to pay for this every single month? That could be your Netflix subscription. It could be the 15 t-shirts that you have in your closet that you don't use anymore. That could just be the excess of things that you no longer even desire. So do some inventory during these 3 weeks of Mercury retrograde. Because again, remember, we're not supposed to go out and socialize. We're not supposed to go out and make decisions. We're not supposed to go out and travel. Go inward, and being in the energy of Taurus, which rules our material possessions, go do some re-editing of these areas of your life. Now on to the don'ts. These are just as important. The first thing I would not do during Mercury retrograde, especially in the energy of Taurus, which has Uranus, the sudden jolting, upsetting, volatile planet, is make any travel plans during his retrograde. Now, if you do have to travel during this retrograde, please be very careful, be very cautious, print out extra copies of things, take your time, expect people to be a little volatile and hot-tempered, things to be canceled or delayed, especially again due to natural disasters, as Uranus is in Taurus. But if you need to make new travel plans, try to hold off until May 14th when the retrograde is over. It will serve you a lot better. Second thing I would not do during this Mercury retrograde is purchase any new high-ticket items. Being in Taurus, Taurus ruling money and finances, as you're redoing things, you may not read the fine print, you may not have all the information, there might be people lying to you as Pluto is involved, right? Control and manipulation and secrets. And so you're gonna wanna wait until Mercury gets back to the beginning to understand all the truth about the situation. So just be very cautious and try not to make any big ticket purchases. And the third and final thing that is so important with all Mercury retrogrades is be very cautious with your communication, especially with the volatility in the sky, especially with the energy of Aries being a little bold and direct. Your communication, your conversation can come across in a way that you don't mean it to be. Definitely do not gossip, do not be malicious, do not post things you don't want people to take the wrong way, do not be a little controversial, at least not for these 3 weeks. It just may not play out well in the way that you wanted it to come across. So just be very careful with that energy during this time. There's just a lot of things going on in the sky, so you just want to be calm, cool, collected. Taurus is the bull. It wants stability, it wants security, it wants comfort, it wants luxury, it wants things to be grounded. So try to get grounded at this time. So that is all I have for you for this Mercury retrograde in Taurus. Again, I hope it helps you navigate this energy. Please reach out to me if you have any specific questions related to your birth chart. We can do a mini reading just talking about this Mercury retrograde. I can help you answer questions about your specific chart if you want to talk about the eclipses or help you navigate the year ahead. We can do an astro forecast reading. And if you've never done a birth chart reading, I highly encourage you to do one because you're not only going to better understand yourself and the energies that you have inside of your soul, but you're also going to understand how that impacts your day-to-day life and how you can navigate the transits of 2023 a lot better. So I love doing full birth chart readings for people. Make sure you hit like and subscribe. I will be back with a whole video on the new moon in Aries, the solar eclipse season, how to navigate all of that energy during Mercury's retrograde. But until then, if you want more short format content, more educational information regarding relationships and astrology, you can head over to TikTok at the Relational Astrologer. And any other information you may need is in the description box below. So I send you love and light as you navigate this Mercury retrograde, and I will catch you in the next video.